Hi, everyone. Yeah, I'm Alex Jarrah, local policy research analyst at ACEEE. I'll be presenting on the Energy Equity for Renters Toolkit, which was alluded to earlier in the forum. Before I do that, a little bit about the Energy Equity for Renters initiative. This launched back in 2021 with the goal to provide 5 communities with no-cost technical assistance. If you visit the webpage, there are some other resources on there, including a rental policy guide, which kind of kickstarted the initiative, and then also a interactive policy tracker, which you can use to which you can download as a JPEG or a PDF. So with that, I'll get into the toolkit. The general purpose of the toolkit is to provide local governments and partnering CBOs guidance to reduce energy use and greenhouse gas emissions while preserving affordable housing. We developed this toolkit alongside the local governments and CBOs participating in the Energy Equity for Renters initiative, including some folks at the city of Berkeley and Stop Waste. The toolkit is not yet published. We're going to release it tomorrow, so be sure to check it out. And we also translated the toolkit into Spanish and Vietnamese. So this toolkit has 4 primary sections. The first is integrated energy efficiency and housing strategies. The second is filling financing and funding gaps for energy efficiency retrofits. The third section covers guidance on stakeholder and community engagement, marketing, and outreach. And lastly, the fourth section is not energy specific, but it's tools for local governments to hold themselves accountable to equity. So the first section, integrated energy efficiency and anti-displacement policies. So the framework in this section is essentially that renters have challenges that need to be addressed, including housing cost burdens, which includes rent burdens and energy burdens, poor housing quality, and displacement and eviction. So we separate the strategies into 2 buckets. The first bucket would be response strategies. These are policies and programs that local governments can use to immediately resolve the problem. So things like simplified access or one-stop shops to rental and utility assistance, and renter council assistance. Renters have an opportunity to be represented in eviction court. Prevention strategies aim to reduce the severity and frequency of these challenges. So there we have affordable transit-oriented development, housing acquisition and rehab, tenant and community opportunity to purchase acts, affordability covenants, and just cause evictions. In the second section, we highlight different roles local governments can fill, and it's important to note that each of these roles builds on each other. So at the bottom, we have an educator. The purpose here is to engage stakeholders, build relationships, and develop plans to mobilize resources and incentive offerings. Above that, we have a facilitator role, which facilitators partner with existing programs to help facilitate access to those financing products. Above that, we have the enhancer. They develop internal energy efficiency financing expertise. And the highest role we identified is the investor, which develop products. An example of an investor role would be like a local housing trust fund. The third section, guidance on stakeholder and community engagement. So we provide guidance for 3 different audiences. The first would be property owner engagement. We highlight ways local governments can engage local property owner associations. We highlight how simplifying programs and marketing can result in higher participation in energy efficiency programs. we illustrate how targeting energy efficiency during other building improvements can increase the uptake of energy efficiency improvements. And we illustrate how presenting case studies can successfully convince property owners to participate in energy efficiency programs. The second group is property staff engagement. So like property owners, simplifying programs and marketing can also result in staff being interested in energy efficiency programs. Host regularly scheduled check-in calls. So this is, it's a strategy taken from strategic energy management, but essentially a program administrator can check in with staff to see how progress is going if the building is participating in a program. And highlight direct install programs. These are important because they don't need property owner approval. So staff can kind of take charge in these instances. So to engage renters, we identify how we highlight rather how local governments can identify and engage interested property owners and managers. We discuss how they can work with CBOs and provide communication materials to owners and managers, which kind of, it limits some of the barriers for the property owner themselves. And we demonstrate how highlighting non-energy benefits can increase renter uptake in energy efficiency programs. So the last section, as a reminder, this is not energy specific, but it highlights 4 key strategies. Structural equity assessments. So these are assessments that require local governments to determine how a proposed policy or program will support and create racial and social equity. And as you can see, we have Albuquerque, Minneapolis, Seattle, and Washington, D.C. as examples. Participatory budgeting, which is a process in which residents or an elected committee vote on how to spend portions of a local budget. Oakland, Seattle, and Tacoma all have used this process in the past. Equity performance indicator. These are reports that local governments use to collect data on equity and track progress. Pittsburgh and San Diego come to mind there. And residents playing a formal decision-making role. So some cities will create formal bodies that give residents the opportunity to affect city planning. So in a climate context, we have Milwaukee and Providence there. Each section of the toolkit also has case studies on innovative programs across the country. So one of the case studies in the first section is Denver's Transit-Oriented Development Fund. In the second section, we have Minneapolis, who are facilitating a pay-as-you-save program. In the third section, we highlight the Efficiency Navigator program in Dane County, which is a one-stop shop for multifamily energy efficiency. And in Rochester, New York, we highlight a community-led process, community-led participatory budgeting process that resulted in the creation of affordable housing for people experiencing homelessness. One case study I wanted to highlight a bit more in depth is the DC Flex program. So this is a flexible form of rental assistance that allows participants to access rental assistance at their own discretion. DC set up escrow accounts for each participant, and the participants could withdraw as much as their monthly rent cost per month, and the money could only be used for rent. And the reason this is important is that the rent eats first, so subsidizing rent costs can free up household income for other necessities, such as energy costs or transportation costs. One challenge the DC Flex program experience was identifying participants, and the key challenge here is identifying at-risk populations before they experience homelessness, because the cost of assistance increases greatly after that phase. And some of the successes the program has experience, 75% of participants have been able to increase their incomes while avoiding episodes of homelessness, which is particularly due to the program structure, because it does not lower the subsidy amount based upon income. So yes, like I said, the toolkit will be released tomorrow, so please be sure to check that out.